The stars shimmered like scattered embers against the velvet black of space, but for Captain Rin Kale of the Kethari Dominion, the beauty of distant suns was nothing more than a curtain waiting to be torn apart. From the bridge of his warship Vornik Halo, he stared down at the blue-green world suspended in silence below. The planet's name was simple: Earth, primitive, unguarded, and perfectly positioned for conquest. Rin's voice carried the cold confidence of a predator who had never known defeat. "Lock formation," he ordered. "Fleet Gamma, maintain cloak integrity. No emissions, no signals." The command rippled through his officers, each moving with mechanical precision. 23 warships drifted behind the moon's shadow, their hulls absorbing light, invisible to any crude sensors the humans might possess. This world would be his 10th victory in 3 years, and perhaps the one that would earn him a seat among the Dominion's high circle. "Captain," said his first officer. Sira Vek, a tall figure with skin that shimmered like obsidian glass. "Surface scans confirm energy readings, low frequency, inefficient. Their defenses are mostly chemical. Their space fleet is negligible." Rin's eyes narrowed. Exactly as expected. The perfect example of a species that dreamed too small. He turned from the viewing deck, his mind already plotting the moment Earth's skies would ignite. Yet beneath the arrogance in his gaze, there was a flicker of curiosity. Humans fascinated him. They built art before ships, poems before plasma cannons. Weak by Dominion standards, yet they clung to existence like fire in a storm. "Begin countdown to decloak," Rin commanded. "I want the world to see who rules their sky." The crew responded in unison, their voices blending with the low hum of the engines. Around the fleet, the darkness of space seemed to bend, but then, something impossible happened. "Captain," Sira's tone cracked through the calm. "Unidentified transmission incoming." Rin turned sharply. "From the fleet?" Sira shook her head. "No, Captain. From the planet." A hush fell over the bridge. "That's not possible," Rin said, stepping closer to the communications console. "Our cloaks are perfect. No race below level 4 civilization can detect us." "It's direct, sir." Encoded in Dominion language, every officer froze. Rin's pulse quickened, not with fear but disbelief. The Dominion language had never been shared outside their empire. Not even their subjugated worlds understood it. "Put it through," he ordered. The central screen flickered, revealing only text written in perfect Kethari symbols. "We see you. Do not proceed. You are making a mistake." For the first time in his career, Captain Rin Kyle felt the faint sting of unease. "Trace the origin," he demanded. "Attempting," Sira replied, her slender fingers dancing across the console. "Signal source is global. It's coming from thousands of points simultaneously. It's as if the entire planet is speaking." "Impossible," Rin muttered. The bridge lights dimmed slightly as the fleet's processors struggled to interpret the signal. Across the Dominion ships, pilots and tacticians whispered the same question. How could a primitive world know? Then a second transmission appeared, this time a live feed. The image stabilized into the face of a human, an elderly man with sharp, weary eyes and silver hair cropped close to his head. He wore no insignia, no armor, just a simple gray coat. "Captain Rin Kale of the Kethari Dominion," the man began, his voice calm and measured. "My name is Dr. Elias Marin. I speak for Earth," Rin stiffened. He had not introduced himself. He had not even opened a communication channel outward. Yet somehow this human not only knew his name, but the exact nature of his empire. "How do you know who I am?" Rin asked, his voice low. Dr. Marin smiled faintly, though his eyes held no amusement. "Because we've seen others like you. You believe this is your first approach, but we've been studying your kind for decades. We've watched your conquests, the way you burn and rebuild. We understand your patterns." Rin's hand tightened on the edge of the console. "You speak boldly for someone moments away from annihilation?" "Annihilation," Marin repeated softly as if testing the word. "That's what every conqueror believes until they meet something they cannot measure." Sira whispered. "Captain, the fleet is requesting clarification." "Do we proceed?" Rin hesitated. He wanted to order the bombardment immediately, to show this frail species the cost of defiance. Yet the certainty in Marin's eyes unsettled him. "What is your warning, human?" Rin asked finally. Marin leaned closer to the screen, his face half-shadowed. "If you attack, you will not find a planet to conquer. You will find a grave you can't escape." The screen flickered and went dark. A low murmur swept across the bridge. "Signal lost," Sierra said. "But Captain, there's something else. I'm detecting fluctuations across our cloaking network. Interference coming from the planet. I've never seen a pattern like it." Rin stepped closer to the viewport. The earth below glowed faintly in the darkness, its auroras twisting unnaturally. For a brief moment he thought he saw something move within those lights, shapes, patterns, as if the planet itself was responding. He forced the thought aside. "Activate weapons. Prepare to strike their communication hubs." But before the command could be executed, every Dominion warship's console flashed red. "Warning," came the automated voice. "External system intrusion detected." Sierra turned pale. "They're inside our network, Captain. They're rewriting access codes." Rin's heart pounded. "Impossible. No one outside the Dominion has the encryption keys. They do now." The ship trembled violently as one of the warships beside them suddenly powered down, its lights fading like a dying star. Then another. One by one, Dominion vessels went dark, leaving the Vornic halo floating in eerie silence. Rin's eyes widened. "Cut all external connections. Restore control manually." His crew scrambled. But the voice of Dr. Marin echoed once more through the intercom. No video this time. Only words. "You see, Captain Kale, we stopped looking to the stars a long time ago. Instead, we built our defense within them." The communication ended. The stars outside dimmed as if the universe itself had drawn a breath. Rin felt it then. A sense of something vast, ancient and unseen stirring within the planet's magnetic field. And for the first time in his long and victorious life, Captain Rin Kale wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. He turned slowly toward his crew, the flicker of fear reflected in their eyes. "Hold position," he said quietly. "Do not engage." Outside, Earth turned beneath them, glowing like a silent warning in the endless dark. The sky was no longer asleep. The bridge of the Vornic halo was wrapped in silence, the kind of silence that pressed against the chest and made breathing feel heavier. The Dominion fleet drifted motionless behind the moon, their black hulls glinting faintly in the filtered sunlight. More than half of Rin Kale's ships were dark, powered down by some unseen force that had crawled into their systems like a living shadow. "Report," Rin demanded, his voice low but edged with steel. Sierra Vek's eyes flicked across the displays, her hands moving faster than thought. "Their systems are frozen. Life support is intact, but weapon controls, propulsion, everything else is offline. It's not just interference, Captain, it's precision sabotage." Rin's jaw tightened. "From the humans?" "Yes, sir. The code fragments trace directly to their planet's network frequencies. But that's impossible. They shouldn't even understand our encryption structure. Unless," Rin said quietly, "someone or something taught them." He walked to the viewport, staring at Earth. Clouds drifted slowly across its oceans, white and soft and deceptively peaceful. The irony burned in his chest. A species barely able to reach its own orbit had crippled the most feared fleet in the quadrant. A soft beeping broke the silence. "Incoming signal," Sierra said. "Same source." "Put it through." The screen came alive again. Dr. Elias Marin appeared, the faint hum of wind audible in the background. He seemed to be outside, standing beneath a dark sky veined with lightning. "Captain Kale," Marin began, "you misunderstand us. We are not your enemy, but we learned long ago what comes from those who see us as prey." Rin crossed his arms. "You speak in riddles, human. You've crippled my fleet, yet you call this peace?" Marin nodded. "You're right. But we didn't attack you, we warned your systems, not your lives. The ships you see dead in the sky aren't destroyed. We simply asked them to sleep," Sierra frowned. "Asked them?" "That makes no sense." Marin looked upward as though hearing her across the void. "You think we lack power because we never left our home. The truth is, Captain, we turned inward. Humanity grew through failure, through destruction, through pain, and what we discovered wasn't a weapon you can see, it was understanding. Understanding doesn't win wars," Rin said sharply. Marin's expression softened. "It ends them." The screen cut out once more and Sierra looked to her captain for orders. Rin said nothing. His mind was racing through possibilities, none of them logical. If humanity could disable their systems so easily, why had they not simply destroyed them? Why send warnings instead of fire? "Captain," Sierra said, "I'm detecting energy buildup on the planet's surface, multiple points across every continent." Massive synchronized pulses. Are they targeting us? No, she whispered. They're targeting the void. Rin turned to the viewport again. A faint shimmer spread outward from the planet like ripples on water. Then came the sound, not through the ship but through their minds, a low resonant vibration that seemed to touch something deep within their bones. It wasn't a voice, but it carried meaning. Leave this place. The entire crew froze. The ship's sensors went wild, unable to categorize the phenomenon. Some fell to their knees, overwhelmed by the pressure in their skulls. Sierra gasped, gripping her station. It's a psychic broadcast. The planet itself is generating it. That's not possible, Rin said, but his own pulse was trembling. The presence felt ancient, older than any empire, older than the Dominion itself. Captain, another officer called out, something's moving beneath their oceans. Energy signatures the size of our ships, maybe larger. Rin's blood ran cold. The displays filled with shifting patterns, vast forms awakening beneath the sea. They were not metal or flesh, but something in between, luminous and fluid. The readings were beyond comprehension. What are they? He whispered. Marin's voice returned, echoing faintly over the comms. You came to find a world to conquer. Instead, you found the guardians we built. They were born from our machines and our minds. They don't fight with anger, Captain. They fight with purpose. Outside, the ocean lights began to rise. One by one, the guardians, immense constructs of light and motion, broke through the surface, rising into the atmosphere like living comets. They ascended wordlessly, forming a ring around the planet. Sierra stared in awe. They're linking together, forming a barrier. Rin gritted his teeth. So this is humanity's defense. It's not defense, Marin said quietly through the comm. It's mercy. A sudden flash burst across the void. Every Dominion ship was flung backward, their systems burning with overload warnings. When the glare faded, the humans' fleet, if it could even be called that, was gone. Only the barrier remained, shining faintly around the earth like a crown. Sierra turned to her captain. What are your orders, sir? Rin stared at the blue planet that had defied an empire. He had seen countless worlds surrender, but this one didn't even fight in the way he understood. It simply refused to be taken. Retreat, he said at last, and send word to the High Circle. Tell them the humans are not to be touched. The crew hesitated, stunned. No Cathari officer had ever heard such words from their captain. Sierra's voice trembled. You think they would let us leave? Rin looked once more at the world below. They already have. The Vornic halo turned slowly away from the planet, its engines flickering back to life. Behind them, the luminous guardians drifted silently, watching, waiting, but not striking. Rin felt the weight of what he had witnessed settle into his bones. Humanity hadn't needed to shout or destroy or dominate. They had simply shown what strength truly meant. And deep down in the quiet between stars, Rin understood that the universe had just changed forever. When the Vornic halo returned to Dominion space, Captain Rin Kyle stood before the High Circle, his uniform torn and his voice unsteady. Around him, the chamber glowed with the cold light of authority. Dozens of elders stared down from their crystalline seats, waiting for the story they could not yet believe. You retreated, said High Chancellor Varys, her voice slicing through the air like a blade. You abandoned conquest. You, the Dominion's most decorated captain, fled from a single primitive planet. Rin met her gaze. Not primitive. Powerful in a way we cannot grasp. The chamber murmured with disbelief. Explain, Varys demanded. Rin took a breath. They do not build weapons of domination. They build systems of understanding. They have merged thought and technology until the line no longer exists. When they speak, their world listens. When they warn, the stars obey. The elders exchanged looks of silent unease. You expect us to fear them? I expect you to respect them, Rin replied. If we attack again, we will not survive. Varys rose from her seat, her silver robes glimmering. You bring tales of ghosts and myths, Captain. The Dominion bows to no one. Rin lowered his gaze. Perhaps, but if you wish to bow to nothing, do not do it before Earth. Later that night, Rin stood alone on his vessel's observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly, cold and bright. For the first time he felt small, not because of failure, but because he had glimpsed something greater. He thought of Dr. Marin's calm eyes, of the strange hum of the planet's voice, of the guardians rising from the oceans like spirits of light. Humanity had not fought for power. They had fought for balance. They had become the universe's quiet conscience. Sira approached softly. "You did the right thing, Captain." "Did I?" he asked. She nodded. "You saw what most of us never do. That strength isn't in domination, it's in restraint." Rin looked out once more at the sea of stars. Somewhere out there, Earth spun quietly, protecting itself not with fear but with wisdom, and in that silence he found peace. "Let them know," Rin said finally. "If the Dominion ever forgets humility, they need only look toward the blue star at the edge of the spiral arm. There they'll find their warning," he smiled faintly, "and their hope." The ship drifted into the night, leaving behind the story of a planet that taught the galaxy what humanity truly meant. The warning had been given, and the stars would never forget. Years passed since the day the Dominion fleet vanished from Earth's shadow. Across the galaxies, whispers spread like starlight. Whispers of a world that turned away an empire without a single shot fired. Some called it myth, others prophecy, but those who had seen it with their own eyes carried the truth in silence. Captain Rin Kale never returned to conquest. His name was no longer written among the Dominion's heroes, but among its thinkers. He had seen something the Empire refused to believe, that humanity's strength was not their machines, but the soul behind them. One evening, aboard a research vessel orbiting a distant nebula, Siravek found him standing at the viewport, his reflection ghostly against the swirling clouds of light. "You still watch them," she said softly. Rin didn't turn. "Every day." Beyond the glass, a blue dot shimmered faintly in the distance, so far away that no Dominion telescope could even name it. But Rin knew. The blue star of memory, Earth. "They're still hidden from our scanners," Sira continued. "Their world deflects any probe we send. It's as if they choose what we're allowed to see." "Perhaps that's for the best," Rin said quietly. "They gave us a warning once, not a threat. We should honor it." Sira folded her arms, studying him. "Do you ever wonder why they spared us?" Rin smiled faintly. "Because we didn't deserve to die. Not yet. They saw something left in us worth saving." She nodded slowly. "Do you think the High Circle will ever understand that?" "One day," he said. "When their wars leave nothing but silence, they'll remember the world that taught us to listen." Rin turned away from the stars and walked to his console. On it lay an encrypted log, his final message to the Dominion archives. The message was simple, written not as an officer's report, but as a record for those who would come after him. "To whoever reads this," it began, "know that once, our fleet faced a world unlike any other. We came seeking power, but we found peace. We sought to rule, but they taught us to reflect. Humanity is not weak. They are the mirror we all fear to look into." He paused, fingers hovering over the console. Outside, the nebula shimmered brighter, its colors shifting like thought itself. "Captain," Sira said after a long moment, "what do you think they're doing now?" Rin chuckled softly. "Evolving, probably. Building something beyond our imagination. They've learned how to speak to their world, to their stars. Maybe one day they'll speak to us again. Not in warning, but in welcome." He pressed the final key, sending his message across the Dominion's archives, ensuring it could never be erased. Then he stepped back to the viewport, his eyes tracing the endless black of the void. Somewhere far away on the planet humanity called home, the oceans shimmered beneath auroras that whispered in patterns unseen. Deep below, the ancient guardians rested once more, their light dim but alive. Humanity had returned to silence, but not because they feared the stars. They were waiting for the stars to understand. On Earth, Dr. Elias Marin stood on a cliff above the sea, the wind pulling at his coat. The sky was clear tonight. He watched the faint spark of a passing ship far beyond the atmosphere. A ship that did not approach, only observed. He smiled. "They learned," he murmured. "Good." A small drone hovered beside him, recording the scene for the Council of Sentience. The group formed after the encounter, uniting the planet's minds in quiet vigilance. Since that day, Earth had changed. Nations no longer fought for dominance, but for harmony. Technology grew not for war, but for balance. Humanity had glimpsed the cost of becoming what they once feared, and had turned away from it. "Doctor," the drone spoke gently, "do you believe they will return?" "One day," Marin said, watching the stars, "when they're ready to listen without conquest in their hearts." The sea below shimmered with reflected starlight, and for a moment the sky and ocean seemed to touch, like two worlds recognizing each other. Far across the void, the Dominion ships continued their slow drift through the galaxies, not as conquerors but as explorers. Rincail's message became legend, spreading through generations. It was recited not in war rooms but in schools, temples, and archives. It became known simply as the warning of humanity. And in time, something changed. The empires that once ruled through fear began to question themselves. The concept of domination started to fade, replaced by curiosity and humility. Across countless worlds, leaders looked up to the stars and wondered what kind of beings had once stood against the strongest fleet in the galaxy, and won not through violence, but through wisdom. Centuries later, when Earth finally broke its silence and reached outward again, they found not enemies waiting but allies seeking. The Dominion no longer existed. In its place, a council of free worlds stood ready to listen. At the heart of that new alliance, beneath the light of the blue planet that had once been underestimated, a monument was built, not to war but to peace. Its inscription read, "Here stands the memory of the day the galaxy attacked and humanity answered not with destruction, but with truth. Strength is not the power to dominate, but the courage to understand." And beneath those words, etched in quiet letters, was the name of the one who carried that truth across the stars, Captain Rincail. The monument shone under the endless starlight, surrounded by thousands of species who came to honor it. Some called it the beacon, others the promise. But among the humans who still told the story to their children, it had only one name: the day the sky woke. As the wind whispered through the trees of that future Earth, and as the stars turned their quiet faces toward the blue world, the message remained the same across every corner of the galaxy. Humanity had warned them, and the galaxy had listened.